Hey guys, Sean Michael here with the Sean Michael simulation. It's another beautiful day in the simulation, isn't it? Well, today is especially beautiful because we are doing a giveaway here on this little channel to celebrate 10,000 subscribers. Now, if you've looked at our subscriber count, right now, you may notice we're just below 10,000 subscribers. And we've been there for a little while. So we've decided to give away a Nikon DSLR camera body once we reach that 10,000 subscriber mark. What camera body am I talking about here? Well, I'm talking about this one. It is a Nikon D7000. This is one of my personal cameras. I'm reaching into my gear closet to give away this product. It's a great Nikon camera body. And in this giveaway, I will be giving away the body, some accessories, the original box, and all those materials, the instruction manual and so forth that came with it. Camera is in pristine condition. If you are at all familiar with Nikon, you know they really build these camera bodies like tanks. So I've had this camera for quite a while. I use it extensively in our RV travels. You may follow my other channel, Long Long Honeymoon. This was a Nikon camera that I used for years to shoot both still images and also video. This is a traditional digital DSLR that I believe records a 16 megapixel image, and it does record high definition video, really takes great video. And again, I have the original box. I've got the plastic wrapper. Let me show you. So there's the box. Voila. And, you know, this camera isn't the latest and greatest camera technology, but if you are wanting to get into photography and you've never owned a proper DSLR, then this may be exactly what you need. Now, you may ask why I'm giving away one of my personal cameras. Well, I have a condition known as GAS, or Gear Acquisition Syndrome, and I tend to upgrade my cameras pretty frequently. And that being the case, I have since upgraded and added so many new cameras to my arsenal that this camera has not been used very much. So for someone out there, this could be a perfect first DSLR. You can shoot beautiful video with it, as I'll show you in a moment. And one exciting thing about this contest, because I know I have so many international viewers on this channel, I am going to ship this anywhere in the world. So wherever you are in the world watching this video, if you enter this contest, and to enter, you simply need to post a comment beneath this video and subscribe to our channel. If you win, I'm going to ship it to you, whether you are in the United States or the Philippines or Myanmar or Thailand or India, China, France, Germany, you name it. Whoever the winner is, wherever you are, I will ship you the camera in its original box with some supplies. I am not including a lens, but this uses the F mount, and lenses are plentiful and cheap. So wherever you live, I can guarantee you can find a Nikon F mount lens, because the F mount goes back several decades, and you've got 60 or 70 years worth of lenses to choose from, all of which would work with this camera. Now, only the more recent lenses in the last 20 to 30 years will include autofocus. So if you go for like one of those older 1970s lenses, which are beautiful lenses that are built to last forever, those older lenses do not include autofocus. But typically you can adjust the aperture directly on the lens, which is nice. So I really like working with those older lenses from time to time. So here you'll see the basics of what you will get. If you win this contest, you're going to get the Nikon camera body, a bunch of the original accessories, and it will be in its original box and so forth. The shipping will be free anywhere in the world. I'm not guaranteeing it will be the fastest available. It may not be overnight, but it will get to you. And I will try to make a little video about shipping it to the winner. And I hope that whoever wins the camera body will eventually send me back some sort of video or photo confirming that you received the camera. And I'm expecting that a winner may come from overseas. I think it'll be very interesting to ship this camera off overseas somewhere and get it to someone in another country. You know, the current value of this D7000 body, if you get on eBay, it's a few $100s. I mean, I would say on the low end, a couple $100, on the high end, maybe 500, depending on who you ask and who wants it. But I mean, it definitely has some significant value still. And these cameras are workhorses. They are just built to a very rugged standard. In fact, personally, I think Nikon builds the best camera bodies, at least in the DSLR realm. I just feel that those Nikon bodies, you can use them in almost any type of weather and not have major issues. And I've done just that. I mean, for example, I've taken mine to Alaska and shot a lot of stills and video in Alaska using this very same camera body. And I'll show you a little bit of video from Alaska. Again, something you can get with a DSLR is that really beautiful shallow depth field that's wonderful and cinematic. Let's see, Todd says, hey, Sean, I'll do a live comment and a comment later. Nice camera. Congratulations on 10,000 subscribers. Thank you, Todd. And to that point, I will point out, I'm a couple hundred subscribers short on this channel. And so that's kind of the idea behind this Nikon giveaway. I want to get those numbers up above 10,000. And so I will send the camera out once we hit that 10,000 subscriber mark. So if you're a newcomer to my channel, then this is a great opportunity to subscribe because we have a lot of fun over here. This channel is different from sort of the primary channel that I do on YouTube. A lot of you may be familiar with Long Honeymoon, where we focus primarily on RV travel and the outdoors. On this channel, I'm wanting to explore some other topics that might not quite fit with Long Honeymoon, maybe do some interviews with interesting people. I want to share with you some other travel experiences that I might have had over the years and just experiences in general that wouldn't quite fit necessarily with Long Honeymoon. We'll also continue to do product reviews over here, focusing on drones and still cameras and all that good stuff. But it will be a little bit different from Long Honeymoon. I'd really like to have a channel here that I could just sit down and talk to you guys about what's going on in the world, or what's on my mind, or some great experiences I might have had that I want to share with you that wouldn't quite fit with Long Honeymoon. Let's see. I want to clarify camera prize. The contest prize includes a camera body, box, and some accessories. Now, as far as the lithium battery, it may or may not be included depending upon the shipping restrictions, because these days shipping a lithium battery, even a small one, overseas could involve some problem issues. So I hate to ship a camera without a battery. On the other hand, I'd hate for the battery to cause some sort of trouble in transit. I know that these days when we are flying, we typically have to pull all of our batteries out of our checked luggage and so forth, because those lithium batteries can potentially be a fire hazard. So I'm not 100% guaranteeing the battery. It depends upon the shipping requirements. Again, the winner is going to be randomly selected from the comments. So you actually have pretty good odds to win. And I'm going to try to promote this video through our various social media platforms that we have. So here you see some video that was shot with the Nikon. We are in Alaska at this point. I think we were down in, let's see, maybe Seward. Actually, I'm not sure exactly where this is, but out on a drive in kind of a rough rural area in Alaska during some inclement weather. Jeff says hello from Pennsylvania. Hey, Jeff, I hope you are doing well during this very unusual summer we've all been experiencing. Again, I am trying to use this channel to connect with you guys in a slightly different way. Videos that wouldn't quite fit necessarily on Long Long Honeymoon, I'm going to put over here and maybe talk to you about some experiences that wouldn't quite fit with Long Long Honeymoon. And of course, we're going to focus, as always, on camera gear and filmmaking and so forth. You know, I included this video because it shows the sort of rugged nature of these Nikon cameras. This one, I believe, is weather sealed because I was using it here in the rain. Of course, you really need a weather sealed lens if you're going to go out and shoot in really inclement weather. But these DSLRs take beautiful video with high dynamic range. And there are a lot of things you can use a camera like this for. I mean, obviously, most people would use it for still photography. You could use it for real estate photography. You could use it just to learn the basics of filmmaking and cinematography and the basics of photography, like we're playing with aperture and shutter speed and so forth. In theory, you might be able to use it as a webcam. I'm actually using one of my older Nikon cameras right now as a webcam. So let's see, Schoolhouse says they were a Nikon D300 user. D300 was a workhorse camera of its time. And Blue Road Media says hello from North Carolina. Congratulations on 10,000. Very awesome. Well, thank you very much. We're getting there. Looks like that might be a Nikon camera in your profile picture there, Blue Road Media. I just thought I would give away one of mine because I have gear acquisition syndrome and have several cameras, and I'd rather have this camera out there in someone's hands doing somebody some good. Tracy says, I appreciate your videos on the Mavic. Thank you, Tracy. I do now have the Mavic Air 2, and I'll be talking about that in the near future. I've flown it many times now. I guess I've had the drone for 6 to 8 weeks, and I'm very impressed with it. You know, I still have at least 3 Mavics in my arsenal. I've got the Mavic Mini, which I took to Southeast Asia earlier this year and really enjoyed using. I've got the Mavic Air 2, which is about double the cost of the Mini, but it includes a lot of additional functionality and features. And I also have the Mavic 2 Zoom, which is kind of my personal flagship in the Mavic series. And I love the Mavic 2 Zoom. I've got it connected to my DJI Smart Controller. And typically, if I'm going for a video shot, I will grab the Mavic 2 Zoom first and foremost. I love the zoom functionality of the Mavic 2 Zoom. I would like to see DJI release more drones with zoom functionality. Here we go. Shamananda, and I apologize if I did not pronounce your name correctly, says, love from India. Thank you very much. You know, I have never personally been to India, but India is on my short list of places that I want to visit. We've spent a lot of time earlier this year in Myanmar, Burma, which is getting pretty close to India. I think another short plane ride, and we would have found ourselves in India. We actually talked about going there in January, and we ended up returning back to Thailand. So when things settle down a little bit in the world, I do intend to get back over to Asia, and I look forward to visiting India. You know, and here's a perfect example. If you were to win this camera in the contest, you will receive shipping in India. I think it'd be really interesting to ship this camera to India, to be honest. Tracy says, I use a Nikon D7200 for aerial photography with Civil Air Patrol. Great camera and meets the requirements for FEMA. I also have a Nikon D7100, and I still use that camera quite frequently. So this camera is the predecessor of the D7100. All those cameras in that D7000 range have been outstanding from Nikon. This is the one that kind of kicked the series off. And again, they are workhorses. You'd have to really do something crazy to damage and or destroy this camera. They're built like tanks. I mean, it's a metal body. You can just feel it. It's a chunky, solid piece of gear. Let's see. Yellow Dog Welding Bill says, Yahoo finally figured out how to get notified of the live broadcast. Congrats on 10K, Northern Michigan here. Thank you very much, Yellow Dog Welding Bill. I'm so close to the 10K, and I was thinking that maybe this giveaway would help push us over the top. I really appreciate all my subscribers over here because I know the content is a little bit different. It's really imagery and video focused, but I also want to share with you some different travel experiences we've had that may not fit in the RV travel sphere exactly. Although right now you're seeing some video shot with this Nikon camera from our trip to Alaska when we took our Airstream all the way up to Fairbanks, Alaska and back. We drove the Alaska Highway, and it was really a fantastic trip. And I don't know if you could have made it out in that previous clip. There was a wild moose having a bath and or lunch in the local watering hole. There is a wild black bear somewhere on the Alaska Highway. And this was obviously in the Yukon territories. You might be able to see from that sign. Mere 10 miles from Iron Creek. We really loved our trip to Alaska. This was in Denali Park. Again, an image taken with the Nikon. This is, these are eagles in Haines, Alaska. You can see these wild eagles will come in, really flocks of eagles, and will fish and land in the creeks there. And I really, really recommend, if you ever have the opportunity to go to Alaska, go, because it is truly one of the wildest places I've ever been. I mean, wild in pretty much every sense of the word, but Alaska has a raw beauty. Everywhere you go, you see stunning views, and there's just a stunning amount of wildlife there. Let's see. Here is Ricardo watching from Manila, Philippines. I'm a Nikon D5300 user. Love it. Thank you, Ricardo. I went to Manila, Philippines about a year and a half ago and had a great time. I really loved the Philippines, and I'm pretty confident that my wife and I will someday return. People in the Philippines were flat out probably the friendliest people I've ever met. Just the nicest, friendliest people everywhere we went. And we had such a good time exploring those different islands in the Philippines. And for those of you who have not been to the Philippines, you should know that it offers some of the most spectacular snorkeling and scuba diving that you're ever going to experience in your life. We went to a place called Apo Island to swim with sea turtles. And there you can really see the giant sea turtles up close. And in fact, this may be a topic that I will cover here on this channel. Again, it's a topic that doesn't really fit with RV travel, but we had some wonderful experiences traveling around in the Philippines. So thank you, Ricardo, for joining us today. Let's see. Blue Red Media says, my name is Tomless. That is actually a Panasonic GH4 in his profile picture there. I used to have a Nikon D90. D90 was another workhorse. My brother had a D90, and it's just a great camera. And if I recall correctly, that was the camera that ushered in the era of DSLR video. Until the D90, if I recall correctly, nobody in the DSLR world had figured out that you could record video with these devices. And pretty much for the last decade, a lot of people have been doing just that. Yellow Dog says he had a D1 back in the day. It was a race to see if the battery would poop out before the tiny memory card would fill up. Those were the days. Yeah, like with this D7000, the battery life is fantastic. You know, with these Nikons, you really rarely have to worry about changing the battery. You can shoot all day long, at least most people can, off the internal battery, one battery. And of course, you'll never fill up a card if you put in one of the larger SD cards. And this one actually has 2 card slots. So you could simultaneously record your images to each card, or you can use one of the cards as kind of an overflow. So you could load it up with 2 cards if you want. Schoolhouse says, hi, Sean, love Loho for RVing. This is the place for photography. Your real world experience is perfect for us RVers, especially helpful to learn more about videos and drones. Thank you, Schoolhouse 1868. I will be talking a lot more about drones on this channel. I love drones and have owned many. In fact, right now I currently have 5 functioning drones. I may do a drone giveaway in the future because one of my drones, a Phantom 4, could probably go on to another owner. But once we get over this 10,000 subscriber mark, maybe we'll set a goal of 15 or 20,000 subscribers and give away a Phantom 4 when we get to that point. But I love those DJI drones. I'm open to trying different drones, but I've been so pleased with DJI products in terms of their performance. I keep on circling back and getting the latest. So now I do have the Mavic Mini, the Mavic Air 2, the Mavic 2 Zoom, and the Phantom 4 Pro. And I also have a Phantom 4 standard model, which is also a great drone. But a man only needs so many Phantom 4s, if you know what I'm saying. So, all right. I really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Again, what we're seeing here on the screen is video from our trip to Alaska. And there you see my wife bundled up because we were having some cool rainy weather. If you're interested in going to Alaska, we have a series of videos on our Long Honeymoon channel where we kind of document that trip and sort of dole out some advice about what we learned, some lessons we learned the hard way. We went up very late in the season to Alaska. In fact, you'll have to view the video for confirmation, but it seems like we left for Alaska around the 3rd week of July, which is very late considering that we live in the American South. And we were facing about a 5,000-mile journey just to get to the border of Alaska. And we're not the type of people to drive 10 hours a day with our RV. We typically tow 200 to 300 miles, and then we'll stop and take a break. We tend to meander when we RV travel with our Airstream. And so we meandered our way up to Alaska. We were actually in Alaska probably during the perfect time of year to be there. Through some luck, the weather was pretty much spot on perfect for about 3 weeks. We were getting idyllic autumn weather. But the last week or so that we were there, we experienced a lot of rain. We sort of lingered too long in Alaska. And by the time we turned and headed back south, we were dealing with not only heavy rains, but also the threat of snow. And we actually drove through some snow on our way back down through the Yukon territory. So Alaska trip, fantastic. We do have a video specifically about the best time of year to go. If you do not have an RV, of course, you can take cruises into Alaska, or you could just fly into Alaska and rent an RV. And a lot of people do just that. I think what you're seeing here is an RV dump station. It was a free dump station in the parking lot of a place near, I believe, Soldotna, Alaska. And it was really nice that that local store had a free water station basically for RVs. So here you're seeing some of the flora that we experienced when we were in Alaska. Again, we were there right at the onset of the rainy season, but had just a fantastic time. And I wanted to include some of these videos to show you that you can achieve kind of a shallow depth of field with this camera. This is an APS-C camera body. It's all about the lens, really. I mean, if you put a nice fast aperture f1.4 or 1.8 lens on it, you're going to get wonderful shallow depth of field. I really recommend that Nikon 35mm f1.8 lens, which I have reviewed on this channel. It's just a wonderful, inexpensive lens with great image quality. So I'm going to take a look at your comments. Matthias wisely says hello. So he is entered in the contest. Again, to enter the contest, make a comment beneath this video. When this channel hits 10,000 subscribers, one commenter will be selected at random, and I'm going to ship the camera to them wherever they are, anywhere in the world. And if you look at Matthias's his YouTube, what do you call it, avatar or thumbnail graphic, it's an orca. And something we did in Alaska was take a boat ride out to Kenai Fjords National Park, where we witnessed wild orcas in exactly the type of environment that you see right there in Matthias's little thumbnail graphic. So that was an incredible experience. And that's why you go to Alaska, for experiences like that, being able to see orcas in the wild, being able to see humpback whales, to see actual glaciers calving. Calving is when the big sheets of ice fall off the glacier into the sea. It's really kind of a spectacular thing to witness. It's kind of a once in a lifetime event. And once you witness and experience that type of stuff, you'll never forget it. Those are the type of days we live for. Hook It Up Outdoors says, hey, congrats on the 10K. And I love your other channel as well. I would love to take a road trip to Alaska someday. I can see Hook It Up Outdoors has a nice looking fifth wheel there, and you would absolutely love it. You know, one great thing about Alaska, it's very RV friendly. We felt that we could park just about anywhere that we went, and you're just not going to get hassled by local authorities or the people there, which is not the case, unfortunately, in the lower 48. There are a lot of places that, you know, perhaps for valid reasons, whatever, they don't want you parking your RV on the city street. We never had a single problem anywhere in Alaska. Alaska is probably one of the most RV-friendly destinations that you're going to find. And RV camping is just a great way to see Alaska and to experience that rugged natural beauty. And what you're seeing here are some boats. I believe this was in the Homer Spit. If you guys have ever watched what is the name of that series where the fishing series that's set in Alaska, it's in Homer, like it's right around this area. Like you'll see these sort of shells of these old discarded fishing boats in that area, which was just made for some interesting video, I thought. Let's see. Todd asked about the ability to add comments available after the live stream. Yes, I do believe that will be the case. And I will let you know up front that I'm still experimenting and learning with some of this technology myself. So, and that's one thing I enjoy doing on this channel. I don't feel quite the same pressure, if you know what I mean. Like on Long Honeymoon, because the audience is a good bit larger, it feels like there's more pressure when we do live streams to get everything right. So I kind of appreciate having a channel where I can just come over and maybe relax and hang out with you guys a little bit and not feel that same sense of pressure of making everything perfect. But yeah, I do think we'll be able to add comments after the video is posted. If that is not the case, then I will figure something out. That's what I'm going to say. I'll figure it out. And if I have to, I will edit this, re-upload it, and everybody who's entered here will also be entered into the contest. And if I have to, I'll come up with something to take care of you guys. Let's see. John Bell says hello from Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you guys have never been to Chattanooga, it's a great little town. I'm actually friends with the son of the mayor. I don't know if he's still the mayor, but Mayor Littlefield, his son is a great guy and a friend of mine. And Chattanooga is a great town. It's very scenic around there because of the mountains, and there's a great aquarium there, some great restaurants. So I do recommend that you check out Chattanooga, Tennessee. Let's see. James says, hello from Cache Valley, Utah. Headed to the Tetons next weekend for 2 weeks. Thanks, James. Hello to Utah, and you're going to enjoy the Tetons, I'm sure of that. I'm curious whether you have any reservations or if you've heard lately they've been getting a lot of traffic there. We want to go to the Tetons ourselves, but we typically fly by the seat of our pants, and we just kind of show up, and usually that works out pretty well. But this year, I think maybe there was a lot of pent-up demand because of the COVID lockdowns, that once people got the green light, they really flocked to Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Park. Now, conversely, I've heard that traffic to the Grand Canyon has been fairly low. So I think it just depends on which park you go to as far as whether the traffic is spiking high or whether the traffic is low. My belief was that the traffic would be reduced across all the national parks because we don't have as many international visitors this year. Let's see. Diane says, congrats on 10,000. Thank you so much. We're almost there. Let's see. Yellow Dog says, can you use hyperfocal distance focusing with the Nikon DSLRs? I'm honestly not sure about that. If anybody can answer Yellow Dog Welding's question. He says, my son has a D5100 that struggles to focus at times. The issues with focus, it depends on what kind of lens you have. I mean, some lenses have a shorter focusing distance, like they call it the minimum focusing distance, than others. I really love the lenses that have a short minimum focus distance. I mean, for example, I have a 24 millimeter f1.8 that has a minimum focus distance of around like 9 centimeters. And I believe that is measured from the camera sensor to the tip of the lens, I think. Or actually, it's measured from the camera sensor, I should say, to the focal point. But so it may depend somewhat on your lens. It may also depend a little bit on the focusing technology, frankly, because autofocus is something that has genuinely, truly improved dramatically over the years. I don't know if you've used the latest Sony cameras. The autofocus is insane with regard to those mirrorless cameras have phase detect autofocus that will lock on to a moving eyeball. For example, if you're taking a photograph of a person, it will spotlight the eyeball of the person. They can even identify animal eyes. You can set those newer mirrorless bodies to priority for animal eyeballs or human eyeballs. They're that specific because now the new focusing systems are incorporating AI or artificial intelligence into the focusing decision that the camera is making. So these older camera bodies, some of them are using contrast detect autofocus, which, I mean, quite honestly, is just not quite as accurate. So focus is one of those things that has benefited over the years from advancements in technology, like everything else. But so here you're seeing some scenes from the Homer Spit. Again, if you guys are ever interested in going to Alaska, all this stuff was shot with the Nikon. It was rainy weather. I knew that if I broke the Nikon out, I wouldn't have to worry about weather intrusion into the camera. And there's the Seafarers Memorial in the Homer Spit. So, I mean, again, actually here you're sort of seeing some footage that some of which we haven't really shared along honeymoon. We really need to dig back in and talk a little more about Alaska. And I would personally love to return to Alaska. Alaska is an ambitious road trip. I will tell you that. It does put some wear and tear on your gear. We did suffer a lot of mechanical problems on that trip. I've documented those in our Long Honeymoon channel. We suffered a ridiculous number of mechanical failures on our trip to Alaska. I think it was kind of a perfect storm of a demanding road trip. From start to finish, we traveled 14,000 miles on that road trip. And our equipment was at such an age that a lot of things were probably prone to failure, whether it was our truck, our Airstream, travel trailer, just a lot of issues were about to happen, most likely. Even our generator, I believe, had some problems on that trip. And yet, I still look back upon that with fondness as our greatest RV adventure, our greatest trip, even though we did experience a fair amount of problems, we conquered all those problems and didn't let those problems spoil the trip. The trip was incredible. Diane says, hi from Picabo, Idaho. We hope to be back in Idaho soon. We've heard that things have gotten so busy over in Yellowstone that we may focus on Idaho. So look for us probably in the next week or two, somewhere in the Idaho, Utah area. We're also talking about going into Utah. We have some great friends in the Salt Lake City area. We usually stop by and visit with them. So we could be visiting any of those state parks in Utah that we've never been to. For example, is it Goblin Valley, I believe? There are several state parks like that in Utah that we've never been to. And we're going to do the same in Idaho. I think in North America, that's some of the best camping and RV travel you're ever going to find is Utah, Idaho, and of course, Montana and Wyoming. Those are kind of our personal favorites. Jerry says, hello from Seminole, Florida. Love your channels. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope you're doing well in Florida. We may swing through Florida in the near future on our way out west because we want to visit some of those beaches and get some additional video down there. Edward says, hello from Texas. We often go through Texas during our RV travels. Christy has family in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so we usually stop by and visit with them. And so we really appreciate you guys tuning in for both of our channels. This channel is an ongoing experiment. It's focused on imaging, but it's also going to incorporate some video from travels that might not quite fit on Long Long Honeymoon. So I think whenever you tune into Long Long Honeymoon, you're going to hear mostly about RV travel and outdoorsy type stuff. Over here, you're going to hear more about drones, cameras, and international travels, and maybe some national travels that haven't made it over on Long Long Honeymoon quite yet. For example, here with our trip to Alaska, which was an RV trip that we documented on Long Long Honeymoon, but there's always more to talk about. Tracy asked a question and says, when you do video with this type of camera, do you use a gimbal? I have a gimbal that works with the camera, and I think it really depends on your goals and what will make you happy. As you'll see from a lot of this footage, this was not shot with a gimbal. Gimbal adds a good bit of weight to the whole package. These Nikon camera bodies are not lightweight. That's just a fact. They're big, chunky pieces of metal. They're solid. I think you could throw it off a 5-story building. It would probably be okay. You can use it in a rainstorm, but they're not super lightweight. And, you know, a lot of gimbals weigh about as much as these camera bodies. So, you know, how much do you want to carry around a gimbal with your camera to get video? Now, some people are willing to do it. So some people do it. And I certainly think if you're working on paid work, so to speak, if you're working for a client, then yeah, it makes sense to use a gimbal. But if you're wanting to just get some cool shots of your own experiences, then I don't think you need a gimbal necessarily. See, all this stuff was shot with this very Nikon camera. Okay, this was, I believe it was the Salty Dog Saloon in Homer, Alaska, out there on the Homer Spit. Todd says, amazing boondocking in Utah off of Skyline Drive Scenic Byway in the mountains east of Fairview in Sanpete County. Thank you for that tip, Todd. I'm going to look that up because if you've been following Long Long Honeymoon, you know we've added solar to our setup this year. We really installed a robust solar package. And we just recently added 2 more 100-watt panels to that solar setup. So we've got 6 solar panels, 4 huge lithium batteries, and a 3,000-watt inverter. The upshot is it's great for boondocking. We can use electricity and we can power just about any appliance all off that solar package, with the notable exception of air conditioning. If we want to run our air conditioner for more than, say, 2 or 3 hours, then we're going to need to employ our generator. And you can see here at the Salty Dog Saloon, they have a brilliant idea of having people write their contact info on money or write their name on money and post the money in the saloon. I know I've always wondered how much money is actually hanging on those walls. I would imagine it could be quite a lot. It's kind of like having a jar full of pennies. There's more money in there than you realize. They've got an entire bar full of $1 bills. Probably adds up. So, all right, guys. I think I've been rambling here for quite a while. I'm going to try and do more of this live streaming because this channel is a great way for me to practice, interact with you guys, and again, produce some content that I might not produce on the Long Honeymoon channel. Todd says, I meant to mention north of the Skyline Drive parking lot. All right, we will look that up. Seriously, we'll be out there soon. I hope I acknowledged everybody's comment. I'm probably going to sign off here because I just wanted to announce this contest. Again, wherever you are in the world, post a comment beneath the video. The winner will be randomly selected from the commenters. And I look forward to shipping it to somebody out there who will get some use out of it. This is a wonderful camera body that just has not been getting enough use in my arsenal of equipment. So hopefully you could use it. I mean, for some of you out there who are Nikon shooters and want to add a second body, well, this could be your chance. Sorry, guys. I appreciate your tuning in for this announcement. Stay tuned because I will be doing more live streaming on this channel in the very near future. And until next time, you can either catch me here or catch me over on Long Honeymoon. I don't really have a catchphrase here yet, so I'll just say thanks for tuning in.